Heilman, Hackatronics.
Hey everyone. In this video I'm going to be doing an unboxing of all the computer components I've purchased to make my latest computer. So I'm just going to open them as I go here. I'm going to start with the case because that is the simplest thing involved in this process, and I'll leave the best for last. So I'm going to just try to get these boxes out of the way here. Okay. Alright, I did go with the mid tower, not the full tower. I may regret that decision. The reason I didn't go with the full tower is because I currently have one for my current PC. And if this doesn't work out, I will just put my current PC in this case and use the large case with my new PC. So this is a Corsair Carbide series, and yeah, it looked pretty plain. I don't really like the fancy ones with all the lights and stuff. I like to have no window on the side and just as blank as possible, so you'll see what I mean. Actually, let's open from the bottom. Okay. Ooh, just felt static. That's not good. The case is fine, but yeah, that's just something I'm going to have to worry about when I actually build the system. I am presently wearing an ESD bracelet here. It's not connected to anything, so I'm not grounded, but that's just for the later part when I'm actually building the system. Okay, which is up, which is down. Okay. Alright. This guy out. So, as you can see, no side window on either side here. Very blank front. And yeah, very basic, very cheap. It was 60 bucks. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to need a lot of the ventilation that most computer frames need because I'm going to be using water cooling. And I'll just take off the side panel so we can get a look inside. So here we are, nothing fancy. Got a fan here, and this is where all the hardware is going to be, so the standoffs and the screws to hold the motherboard in place. So yeah, that's the case. It also has what appears to be a dampening material here. It's absorbent to sound waves, so it should make it a little quieter than if it wasn't there, but chances are that's just a gimmick and it really isn't worth having, but oh well, it's there. Alright, put this guy off to the side for now. And not sure what's in this box, but we'll have a look-see. Okay. Alright, this is a card I got. It's just to connect my Samsung 960 EVO series hard drive. It uses the PCIe non-volatile memory E M.2 internal SSD. So this, instead of using an a SATA cable, it uses the IDE bus. So it has much higher throughput. I think it's 32 gigabits per second, as opposed to the 6 gigabits per second you get through the SATA cable. So this is just an adapter. I'm actually going to ground myself here. I don't think there's any active components on it, but when you open an ESD bag, it's always good practice to ground yourself. If I can find a ground. Okay. Switch wrists here. Okay. So yeah, that's just a little card there that goes into the PCIe bus, and allows you to connect your hard drive, which is a hell of a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. I thought the hard drive was going to be twice that length, so I'm amazed at how small that is. I'll get the camera closer to show you what I mean for some of these smaller guys after I've opened all the boxes. Alright, what do we have here? Okay, so this is the RAM, DDR4, 3000 megahertz. And there's two 8 gigabyte chips. So I'll have a total of 16 gigabytes of RAM, which should be more than adequate. And I'll just open this for the time being and get a close-up later. So there they are. Nice, beautiful little chips. I think they were $160 roughly for these. So, you know what RAM looks like. Not too fancy, but this is DDR4, so it's the latest version in the market at the time being, for the time being. Alright, those are those guys. If I can get them back in. Okay. I believe this is going to be the CPU. So this is what I was hoping to save for last. So I'm going to put this off to the side for now. This guy was not cheap. He was $240. I think that's the most expensive CPU I've ever purchased. I believe this is going to be the hard drive. I find it kind of amusing because back in the day, if you send a hard drive in the mail like this, that would just be bad news because your drive would be dead by the time it got to you. The platters probably would have gotten nicked and scratched by the heads and it would have been over. But with these drives, solid state, don't have to worry about impact or anything like that. Well, severe impact might break some solder joints, but yeah. A little bit of jostling around and it gets shipped in a package like this isn't something you're going to have to worry about. Oh wow, he's tiny. That's smaller than the RAM is. What is this guy's size? He's 250 gigabytes, so enough to put an OS on and a couple of programs. I'm going to use a hard disk drive as storage, just for the majority of my files and stuff that I don't need to access very frequently or have really high throughput activity with. So that stuff would pretty much just get loaded into RAM anyway. So it would be available there, and then I'd still have a fast connection. I'm curious what all is involved here. Okay, so there's a little booklet, Samsung. Yeah, very cool. I'll put this guy back for now. And put it back in the box, I guess, just for some reason or another. Okay, that is it for this box. And on to the biggest box of all. Well, second biggest box of all. It has the majority of the stuff. Majority of the big stuff, anyway. Oh, just lost my bracelet. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is the GPU cooling mount kit, or mounting kit. So that will connect it to a water cooling system, which appears to have not been included, which I am greatly disappointed by. But I should have been more thorough when I bought it. I should have verified that it was going to include put this on the floor for now. Verified that it included a heatsink, because they can show you misleading images, and well, apparently they got me on that one, and that would explain why it was so cheap. Alright, this is the CPU water cooling system, made by Corsair. I think it's their best one. It has the highest heat dissipation rating, and they're most expensive. But I could be wrong. There could be some other ones on the market that are for more high-end applications, and they may even sell it under a different brand name. Not sure. Because water cooling technology is not new. It's been around for quite some time. And I'm not really planning on overclocking too much. I'm really doing this more for the silence of water cooling, because I don't like hearing CPU fans running all the time at really high volume. So that's why I'm going water cooling this time around. Okay, not that side. So, just some paperwork. Here are the fans. They get mounted to the radiator. This is the radiator portion here. And the cables that run the fluid are then connected to the CPU heatsink here. And then there's the mounting hardware, quite a bit of mounting hardware. And it looks like a USB cable. I'm not sure what that's for, maybe to run a pump. Probably to run a pump. Yep, so that's very cool. Quite excited about doing this. It'll be the first computer I've made that has water cooling. I'll open this just to see what I got. I may return it, so I'll open it carefully. Okay. So, comes with a fan, some mounting hardware and zip ties, more mounting hardware, and a metal plate that you attach to your GPU, Alright. Pretty sure I'm going to return that. That's a shame. So I'll get you the information on this guy just so no one else falls for that. And probably write a review. Not give him a bad review, but just make a review so people are aware that it doesn't include everything that's shown in the pictures, which, you know, advertisements will do to get you to buy something, and it's quite unethical in my opinion. Okay, this is the GPU. Save that guy for second last. This is the motherboard. Both of these are gigabit. I usually buy Asus or Asus, but I've decided to just ditch the brand loyalty and go with what was recommended on userbenchmark.com. That is a great website to do tests on your PC to see how well it does compared to other computers out there available in the market or system builds that you can do yourself. So I ran a test, and presently my current CPU is like in the 50% range, so I wanted to get it up to much higher. This will end up reaching, there's 3, I'll get into that later, but this one will get me well beyond where I am right now. Okay, it comes with 2 SATA cables, actually 4 SATA cables. Probably won't need too many of those. And the motherboard in an ESD bag. The dust plate for the case, so the connectors can come out the back without too much exposure to the dust and whatnot in the outside environment. It comes with a CD. Huh, I almost am surprised by that. I didn't actually think to get an optical drive for this computer. I was just going to download the drivers for the system, which you typically can do on the manufacturer's website. So that's that. Comes with a little sticker. Probably am not going to put it on my computer, but maybe I will. Gigabyte Gaming, so probably not. The only sticker I really put on my cases are the CPU stickers. And that's also how I name my PCs. My first PC was Duron, which is an old AMD processor. Then I had Athlon, that was a 64-bit processor. Then I had Phenom, that was a 64-bit 4-core processor. And then I have currently my present computer, FX835, and that has 8 cores and 64-bit obviously. It runs at 4 gigabits per second. Yeah, that's the clock speed. And yeah, these days clock speed doesn't mean as much as it used to. Back in the day you would buy a CPU based upon its clock speed. Now that's really not even something you will consider. At least I don't. Alright, I'll take it out of the bag shortly for a brief moment to take a quick look. I'll get the camera closer so you guys can see this better. Nice. It looks really nice. It's also really streamlined in appearance. It doesn't have... Oh, would you look at that. Turns out I didn't need to get this adapter after all. It has a mounting port right on the board. That's very nice. So, well, better safe than sorry to get the adapter. So I will not need that, and I will probably return it. But it was fairly cheap, so I may not. Yep, so it's a really nice looking board. It's black and red, very streamlined. There's not a whole bunch of silliness going on here. It's just basic components, and yeah, it looks fantastic. And a quick note, make sure you're grounded when you touch boards like this. You don't want to kill your motherboard, or any other chip for that matter, but your motherboard is what allows your GPU, your CPU, your RAM, and everything to talk to each other. It usually is the least expensive out of the major components. Like my hard drive costs more than the motherboard, my GPU costs more, my RAM costs more, and the graphics card costs more than the motherboard itself. So, yep. You can get one of those like really high-end, high-cooled, really fancy ones if you want, but I just, take a look at userbenchmark.com and see what you really need. And if it's like, ooh, there's LEDs on it and this one doesn't have LEDs, well, that's up to you. But if they add LEDs for an extra $50, well, that seems like a poor decision in my mind. Because LEDs cost nearly nothing. And honestly, if you have your computer next to your bed like I do, it's a distraction when you're trying to sleep. They can look cool, but that gets old after a while, in my opinion. Okay, having a stable, affordable machine is much better than a cool factor that you get to show your friends once a year if they come by. Alright, enough negativity there. This is the GPU. It's fairly small. I've definitely had ones like at least like this much longer. So this is a smaller GPU. And it's quite dense. It's fairly heavy. Oh, nice. So the circuit board is actually protected by this, looks like ABS plastic, probably ESD safe. They've added some conductive materials to the ABS so it won't build up a static charge and damage your unit. So that's nice that it has that plate there. And yeah, looks pretty nice. I mean, it's a GPU. Well, the look factor's neat, but when they're actually running, that's when everything gets awesome. Alright, I'll put that back. What else do we have here? Quick guide and drivers. Again, strange that they are including discs. The only optical disc that I've ever found I needed for a driver was for the network card, because without getting on the internet you can't get the rest of the drivers, so that's the only driver I'll actually use to install my system. Oh, yeah, the Windows CD is also nice to have, especially if you're making a custom install yourself, because you can't really get Windows on without having an OS, so that's what you need to do. Alright, so that's the graphics card. Now here's the CPU. Yeah, this is what it's all about. Okay. It didn't come with a stock fan, which is perfectly fine since I'm going to be water cooling. Oh, wow. That is nice. I don't know about you guys, but this is, it's a rush. Devices like these are like at the cutting edge of technology. They have the smallest nanometer gaps of any other component. This is the transistor gap. I actually didn't do the research on this, what the nanometer gap is for the transistors, but might be under 20 nanometers. That's a guess, but I think it's under 20 nanometers gap for the transistor. Wow, that's beautiful. Okay. Yeah, I said I was going to do close-ups. I I guess I can do a quick overhead, but I don't think I'm really going to talk about them more than I already have. And here's a close-up of the Ryzen 5. This is the x1600 version. Quite a snappy little guy here, and good bang for your buck. This is the SSD PCIe hard drive, 250 gigabytes. And here's the DDR4 RAM. If you want to see the motherboard and video card up close, I'll be doing the system build in my next video, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.